All right, guys, welcome to another episode of Trading Bitcoin with your host, Tone Vays. This is day 2 of isolation. Zoom is having a big issue that is not allowing me to stream to YouTube. So I am recording this locally, and this will be uploaded as soon as we are done. On this episode, I am joined by the one and only Joe Saz, smoking his cigar. Hey, Joe, how you been? You're in isolation too, huh?
Yep. I'm in the Cigar Bunker, as it's been titled. So yep, I'm hunkered down.
All right. Well, we're in a private Zoom session. We got a little over 100 people here with us. They're putting in a bunch of Q&A questions. Let's just go through some of this Q&A and then we'll do charts. So if you guys want to see charts, stop asking questions. Joe, go for it. But then like as I answer them, just like knock them off the list.
Yeah, why don't we start with this one? Hey, Toad, nice work you're doing. Wanted to ask you if you know anything about the currency, which consists of TUSD, TGBP, TCAD, TAUD, THKD. Looks like Hong Kong dollar, Australian, Canadian, Great Britain. Are you familiar with any of those? Apparently, they appear to be stable coins.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, everyone is just piggybacking off the stable coins. It sounds like it's just like the same thing, like the Tether, only it's like the Tether pegged to Hong Kong, which is still pegged to the US dollar, or like it's the stable coin of Australian dollar. Guys, if Bitcoin is the future, then these stable coins don't matter. Like they're irrelevant, right? Right now, the only use case for these cryptocurrencies is to move your money from non-KYC'd, unregulated exchanges. Those will not exist in the future. They will all be regulated. At least you're going to want to use the regulated ones over the unregulated ones. It's like the casino industry. Like sure, you can go and use the unregulated online casino, but you would rather use the regulated online casino because there's a less probability that they're going to scam you. So as long as everyone is trading crypto on unregulated exchanges, you need these stable coin alternatives to get around regulation. But if Bitcoin becomes legitimate, and the story we're going to talk about today with Giacomo was an Italian bank looking to, is already offering you, Bitcoin services. As Bitcoin becomes more and more legit and accepted, I'm assuming it is, these stable coins are going to go away. They're a liability. They're not, use them to get around regulations for now, but they're not going to last. All right, next question.
Yeah. This is a quick one. Is Bitcoin still profitable to mine?
For some, is gold still profitable to mine? Not for you, but for gold mining operations, it is. So it depends. I should be in my actual bunker over in Pennsylvania, where I have my cabin in the woods, and I have free electricity there. So yeah, it's very profitable for me to mine there. I have free electricity. I'm limited on how many miners I can put because otherwise I'm going to blow my fuse. So I can probably put, I can run 1 and still live there. I can probably run up to 3 and then not be able to run like a refrigerator. But that's my limit, right? I can buy up a bunch of properties, but then I'm gonna change the management, because it's like socialized sharing of electricity. So you pay your yearly maintenance bill, and your electricity is free, but you're limited on how many amps you have. So yeah, of course, mining will always be profitable for some, and it will always be unprofitable for others. If it's not your expertise, don't do it.
Okay, 100%. Best machines with the cheapest electricity are going to keep their machines plugged in. Let's see here. Well, this is actually an interesting question. Do you think this global coronavirus crisis will be a kickstart for mass adoption of cryptocurrency?
Yes, absolutely it will be, but not tomorrow. Like it's going to take a little bit of time. So far, I think the biggest 2 events, because you have to disassociate coincidence with actual kickstart, right? So here's a few examples. So when the Cyprus banking system went down and they confiscated money out of people's bank accounts, Bitcoin was skyrocketing right at that time. To me, that was a combination of coincidence and actual demand because of an incident. I was one of the people that rushed in to buy Bitcoin, and I have never been to Cyprus still. Okay. Then the Greek banking crisis came. Oh, I'm sorry, that came later. Then the Silk Road shutdown came, and after the Silk Road shutdown, that day Bitcoin crashed like 40%, but then the next day it recovered, and then over the next month it's shot up like 10x. So I don't think the shutdown of Silk Road directly influenced, people rushing into Bitcoin, even though there was a lot of Bitcoin moving around. There was also the first Senate hearings took place about a month after that significantly helped. Then there was the Greek banking shutdown. And the Greek banking shutdown took place in the summer of 2015. And Bitcoin was still in its, consolidation band at the bottom of the market, trading between $200 and $350 for like 8 months. And the Greek banking shutdown took place right in the middle of that. And I think that was one of the biggest factors to driving people into Bitcoin, but not immediately. It took several months afterwards because people had to get comfortable with Bitcoin. They had to learn it. They had to open accounts. No one just buys 20% of their life savings worth of Bitcoin, right? First, you got to make a $100 transaction. You got to make sure you know what you're doing. It takes time. So this is one of those events that's going to take time. I think that when we look back at this whole like Corona incident, especially, it really depends on the banking sector. It really depends, are the governments of the developed world, we're talking US, Canada, Australia, Europe, any country on the euro, are they gonna put in capital controls? Are they gonna limit you to how much money you can withdraw from an ATM? If the answer to that is yes, this will skyrocket Bitcoin adoption, skyrocket it. If the answer is no, it will still greatly increase Bitcoin adoption, but not as quickly. So when we look back at this, so when this whole thing blows over, and then another 3 to 6 months go by, Bitcoin is definitely going to start ticking up. And when we look back at this incident 2 years from now, we're going to say that this was one of the biggest factors that drove Bitcoin to 100K.
All right, you ready for the next one?
Yep.
Do you have a probability set for the highest all-time price that Bitcoin can reach? Let's assume it's 20K. Do you believe that that's going to be broken at some point?
That 20K is easy. 20K, we should break. We're going to break 20K before the next halving. Like, well, wait, I probably shouldn't drink because that's what just caused that. So 20K is going to be easy to break. The question is, will we break 100K before the next bubble top? And there'll be another bubble top. There always is. So, and how we will get there. Look, I would love to still be alive when Bitcoin does make it to that $1 million mark, but we're not going to be talking about Bitcoin being $1 million. We're going to be talking about a Satoshi being $1. And that's probably the make it or break it for Bitcoin. That Satoshi needs to be $1, probably before 2032.
Just let me know when you're ready for the next, because I'm going to be paying close attention to this.
Yeah, go.
Okay. This is actually a good question. If SPX SP500 drops later today, do you think Bitcoin will drop too?
Not today. Today is almost irrelevant. It's about tomorrow. It's about the. It's about. It's not about the futures market. The S&P's overnight futures market doesn't really matter as much as daytime. That's what matters, especially Sunday night. I mean, maybe what happens overnight, actual overnight, like from let's say Tuesday to Wednesday, matters. But what happens to the S&P on Sunday night going into Monday open is not indicative of what's going to happen to the markets during the week, even in a crazy time like this. So I am expecting the markets to just get destroyed when the futures open at 6 p.m. tonight. But I have no clue what's going to happen. Like the time that I don't like to trade, I don't like to trade between 9 a.m. and 9:15 a.m. because it's too unpredictable. What happens in the futures market between 6 p.m. Eastern time on Sunday and 9:30 in the morning on Monday almost needs to be completely ignored, because it's not indicative of what's going to happen that week. So I don't think Bitcoin is going to be affected no matter what the S&P does tonight. What it may do like Monday night is potentially relevant.
Okay. Let's see here. I think this is a good question, but it might take you on a rant. Could you please do more, go more in-depth analysis, time analysis, or thoughts about coronavirus effects on economy and markets all?
Oh boy, I'm not ready to answer that because I haven't had time to really think about it and dissect it. I mean, look, this whole corona situation is really challenging for everyone, right? You have people that are getting very irate that this incident is being used or is going to be used to take away all our liberties and give the government more power to control us. And I see their point. And at the same time, you have, idiots that want to, get together at a sporting event, like shoulder to shoulder, spreading it to everyone, right? So I don't know what the right way here is, because it's like you want to almost, like, how do you give authority power to actually put in the right safety measure, but at the same time, make sure that this power, A, not being abused at the present, and more importantly, not going to be abused into the future by turning a temporary measure into a permanent measure, right? So, like, I don't know. I don't know how it's going to end, but these things usually do not end well for freedom. So, I don't know. What's your thoughts on this, Joe?
Well, I'm a little, I agree that a lot of people band together. Some people try to exploit situations like this. And I think the government certainly looks for its opportunities to exploit the population. I do believe that people are stupid for going out and partying over spring break and going out on St. Patrick's Day. So I do believe that at some point, a central authority, whether it's Tone, me, the president, the governor, would have to say, guys, stop doing that. You're spreading a disease that's killing people. Not you. You're perfectly safe, but you might take it to someone else who's going to die. I think it's important that it proves that why we have a system that requires humans telling other humans what to do. And this is a prime example of when it's needed to be used. Is it going to be something that permanently takes away our civil liberties? I sure hope not. But if it is, I hope enough people are willing to fight that we, that we avoid whatever catastrophe is in our future if that stays, you know, in some of these extreme measures that you know the government might be seeking to, you know, to obtain.
Yeah, guys, please ask your questions in the Q&A button, not in the live chat. Someone asked a 2000 the question about the $2,000 price and stuff.
Just so you know, if we just did a full retrace on a 1.54% move down, a nice little dump and a nice little pump, full retrace plus some extra there.
What are you talking about?
Bitcoin 5-minute.
Oh, Bitcoin 5-minute. Okay.
Yeah, just like did a little dump.
I just want to get back. Also, look, I don't want the government to put in draconian measures to like force people to stay at home. But at the same time, I understand why they're doing it because of the idiots that I see that think this virus is like, you know, a bullshit, and it was only created to take away the liberties. So you have to go out there and party and prove the government wrong that you're not going to get infected, right? Like,
yeah, I think it's. I would say I'm okay with things now. If someone has coronavirus, I would rather them stay at home than be out at a park partying, out in public partying. I don't think this is something we should mess around with.
Like, actually, look, because I don't know if I'm infected or not, considering what I've been doing the last couple of months. So I've been wearing like full face mask, hat, like I covered my whole body up. And I actually ordered like a gas mask, right? So that if I have to go out again next week, because all like the actual like the good face masks, they were sold out, but I can order like a gas mask, right?
Yeah.
that will be delivered here like this week. So if I have to go out, yeah, I'm gonna look like someone like from the movie Chernobyl, from the show Chernobyl, because I don't want to get others infected, right? Because I don't know if I have it or not. I don't think I do, but you never know. So you just got to be responsible.
Exactly.
And when people aren't responsible, the government will be responsible for you.
And speaking of that, the government, they also started making their own hand sanitizer. I don't know if you saw that NYC news, but they turned a prison working facility into a hand sanitizing manufacturer because you know, so many people were trying to buy and gouge the price. So it was actually pretty interesting. The government can be fiscally responsible when it so chooses. But that was, you know, this is a definitely an extreme time. The government's doing things that might feel bad, but it's also doing things that are definitely good. So I'm curious which ones are going to stay, you know. But either way, I'm ready, you know, for whatever goes down. I'm ready for whatever.
Let me just answer that question real quick because it's not in the Q&A. Because it will be fast. Do you still think 2000 is the lower target? What is the chance of it happening? So I'm not expecting 2000. I'm expecting like maybe 2800. I'm not expecting it. Sorry. For me, the lower bound is 2800. I'm like the chances that Bitcoin goes lower than 2800 for me is like maybe 5%. Okay. Which may be high for some people, maybe not anymore, but is maybe 5%. The chances that Bitcoin goes down to 2,800, that's on the magnitude of, let's say, 20 to 25%. So that means I have a 70% chance that we're not going to go below 3,000, and the low from last December of 3,100 actually holds. So I still give that a more than 50% chance, but I have not ruled out 2,800, but I pretty much ruled out 2,000.
So
okay.
You don't think Hyperwave is on the table?
You know, I think Hyperwave is on the table, but after the halving, I think Hyperwave needs to be raised by 2 because like Hyperwave has never had to deal with an asset that goes through halvings. You know, it does make a difference. And I go back to that minor profitability chart of, if I go back to screen share, like if I go to the minor profitability, I have to restart my computer like 8 times in order to, you know, try Zoom to get it to work. So I don't know which of these is minor profitability. Maybe that one. Yeah.
Damn, you're spinning.
Right. So look, Bitcoin, if you look at this chart, if you look at miner profitability, it's never gone to a prior level of support. And it's possible for us to go back to the slide, but after the halving, this line is at, let's say, $2,600. So I just don't see it.
That's a very interesting take. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Nothing else goes through happenings like this. A very interesting perspective.
Yeah. So, and we're going to have another halving, right? So I always said we're going to hit this line again. And to hit this line, we need 3,000 before the halving or 6,000 after. That means if we go to 3,000 after the halving, now we're approaching this line. I just can't see us going further down.
All right. So let's see here. There was a question earlier about BitMEX hiring a KYC professional. Any thoughts on that? Yeah.
BitMEX will have no choice. They're gonna do what Deribit did. They are going to start KYCing unless Arthur wants to go to prison one day. Like they're gonna, they have some of the most expensive lawyers in the world, and they will have no choice. Their lawyers will advise them that, hey, you will have to KYC, but it will be, but they're delaying this as much as possible because they're gonna, their lawyers are also smart. They know that BitMEX will lose its competitive advantage to their competitors like Bybit, for example, who have the same rule set. So BitMEX will make sure that Bybit has to follow the same rule set that they force BitMEX to do. So the day BitMEX starts KYCing is pretty much within a few months, all of these exchanges will be forced to KYC.
Yeah, I'm curious to see what happens in the wake of all that. Deribit, just for the record, Deribit's KYC as they move to Panama requires KYC procedures if you withdraw more than 1 Bitcoin per day. If you withdraw, say you have 100 Bitcoin and for 100 days, your only job is to withdraw 1 Bitcoin, you will not have to submit any KYC procedure, adhere to any KYC procedure. So
that's a pretty good deal.
Yeah, exactly. It basically, you know, if you make the trade of a lifetime, then your day job is going to be just to withdraw less than 1 Bitcoin per day. So the KYC,
or just pay your taxes and take it all out, right? Because that's the risk, right? I mean, like,
well, you
let's
can't
say you
just
make
pay
a
your
trade of
taxes because it's illegal to trade if you were, say, a United States citizen. You can't KYC. So this is
so it's still not open to U.S. citizens.
correct. Yes, this is only you know, still have your countries where you can't trade, but again, you're at a 0 level KYC requirement if you withdraw less than 1 Bitcoin per day.
Okay, well, it's something. It's something for small traders to play around with. Yeah.
Dude, like I said, if you make 100 Bitcoin on a trade and your day job for the next 100 days includes moving one Bitcoin out, that's a great day job.
That's a very good day job.
Yeah, so I mean, there really is no downside. I spoke directly to Marius about this, and you know, because I was really concerned, and he cleared a lot of real good stuff up for me.
Yeah. I mean, look, eventually they're all gonna have to KYC. It's only a matter of time. All right, should I glance at the price of Bitcoin? I did tweet out, and I talked about it yesterday, that a short trade does get activated on a 12-hour chart. I normally don't use the 12-hour chart, but the daily chart is just so far behind on activating any kind of a trade because you still need tomorrow to give you a red 1, and then you need Tuesday to give you a red 2, or Monday night to give you a red 2 to go below that red 1. So the 12-hour chart activated a short trade right at that red line at about 6,110. We talked about it yesterday on YouTube. So right now, I'm pretty sure Bitcoin is on a short trade on a lower level time frames than 12 hours. I doubt we're hitting a 9 buy on a 4-hour scale. And we're clearly not. We're probably on a 4 or 5. Looks like oh, it's like a 3. It's going to be a 3. There it is. It's a 3. So it's only on a 3 with a 4-hour. That is bearish on a 4-hour. We're on a red 2 going below a red 1 on a 12-hour. And if this flips the daily, then that becomes a short trade as of Tuesday. But who knows where that's going to be? You don't want to be activating your short trade at 5,000. So for me right now, Bitcoin is bearish, which is not good for the traditional markets. It probably means that traditional markets were most likely open down, but it's hard to say because Bitcoin doesn't lead traditional markets. They've just been correlated. The week is almost over. So unless Bitcoin really, really crashes in the next 6 hours, which is possible, but I will never place that bet, not in this environment. The wick on top is now longer than the wick on the bottom, which makes this candle have more of a bearish bias than a bullish bias. Look, I would love for Bitcoin to go up, but that's not what the charts are saying. As good as this banking news out of Italy is, the charts do not look very good. Joe, your thoughts?
I was actually looking at a question. I thought this one was interesting. What was the question from you?
Just your thoughts on the price, but don't worry about it. What's the question?
Yeah, I'm with you. I did see that. Your daily outlook, I think, is you and I are both in agreement. I really think that this was a wild move down. I think this is a narrative-driven market. I think short-term, the markets are correlated, S&P 500 and Bitcoin, because I think there are things that people demand greater than assets, right? They demand toilet paper, of course, right? So I just think that if the market takes a slide, which is probably going to happen, the next one's going to happen when NYC goes, takes this a lot more seriously and does bigger shutdowns. I don't know if you're aware of this, Tone, but the news that preceded the massive decrease in price was a CME closing the floor. And basically, I think people overreacted to the news at CME. They kind of interpreted it, maybe misinterpreted it as the CME shutting down, and that instigated, I think, a big sell-off or added fear, added fuel to the fire. So I think NYC takes a hit. I'm bearish on the external narrative when NYC takes a hit. I'm bearish on the charts. And we I don't know if you have the same moving average as I do, but we're on a convergence of a number of death crosses on the daily. So with the 50, 128, and 200. So that scares me a bit as well. Did you point that out already?
No, because I'm looking at different moving averages, I think. But look, it's very simple to me. I will be bearish Bitcoin as long as it stays below 6,400. I mean, that's the last swing high. We rallied nicely off 38. We made the ascending triangle. We almost reached the target perfectly. We missed it by a percentage point or two, which is good enough in my book to meet its target. We then fell hard, almost backtested the triangle, made a lower high, and we're now making a new lower close on a 4-hour scale. So all of this points to more downside. Until we break 6,400, or I start seeing nines on daily and weekly, red nines on daily and weekly, giving me a buying opportunity at the low, I'm going to stay bearish Bitcoin. I have no choice.
Agreed.
All right. What do we got on questions?
All right. Let's see here. Where was that one? Let me look at. So this the coronavirus moved to halving price increase for at least 9 months. There will be a significant amount of freshly printed money after the financial crisis finish, and during, of course, possibly. How is that influencing Bitcoin price, in your opinion?
So the beginning of that question said, what do you mean moved halving by 9 months? That makes no sense.
I think what you're saying is, like, if the halving was going to pump, if we didn't have this negative, external variable like coronavirus, then we would probably be halving pumping. And he's saying that he's pushing that halving pump to 9 months after the halving, and asking, now that we know that the government is going to do a number of things to incentivize consumerism, one of them is handing people money. How do you think that influences Bitcoin?
I don't think it does. Look, the reason why the government's going to be handing people money is because people are going to be broke. So the last thing they're going to do with that money is buy Bitcoin. Only people that were not affected by this. So, for example, Joe, did this coronavirus and New York City shutdown affect your business model?
No, not at all. Me personally.
No, right? It didn't really affect mine either. In fact, it might help mine because now I'm not traveling. So it didn't hurt everyone, but it hurt the majority of people. Let me ask you another question, Joe.
Mm-hmm.
In the last week, if you had, let's say, the bank shut down, and you have $1,000 in cash just laying around for you to do something with it, are you going to go to the gun store or are you going to go buy Bitcoin?
Gun store.
Right. So, and you're a Bitcoiner.
Yeah.
Right. So, look, as this gets bad, people are not going to be speculating on Bitcoin. I'm sorry, guys. As much as I want to say something like everyone's going to use that $1,000 a month or whatever the government's going to give us and buy Bitcoin, the reality is people are going to buy not drugs, but people are going to buy cigarettes. They're going to buy alcohol. They're going to buy food if they're smarter, and they're going to buy guns.
Well, I'll tell you what. I bought my guns and I bought my ammo like 3 weeks before all this shit went down. So I personally will be able to buy Bitcoin. But Tone's, I think, right. The last 4 times I went to the shooting range, the gun shop had a line out the door. The ammo retailers are completely empty. People were buying every gun and every attachment. The walls are cleaned off. Every day the walls would be cleaned house. So I agree with you, Tone. But
look, they're also going to buy masks. Look, I just spent $100 on a gas mask and not on Bitcoin, right? Like, look, when we come out of this, people will remember. If the government limits the amount of cash you can withdraw at the ATM, people will remember. And when they start getting money again, they will go into Bitcoin. And if not, I will remind them that they should.
Yeah. So I'm looking for good questions here. This is a great question. This is a great question.
Yeah, go ahead. Mm-hmm.
Because you know how me and you differ on TA, right? I built an analysis method off of something completely different than technical analysis for the most part, right? So let me ask you this, because I have an answer for how this has affected my analysis method. How useful is TA in times like this?
I believe that TA is always useful because TA is there to show you what people are doing with their money. So TA is useful in any market that has buying and selling. Where TA is not useful is where it has no bid. So when the government says you can't short sell, that's when TA screws you, because now it's not a free market. As long as there's a free market of buying and selling, TA is useful. Where TA fails is when there is a limit down and the market is frozen. And then when it reopens, you don't know what the hell it's going to do because there wasn't a free market during that stoppage. As long as there is buying and selling going on with the smallest amount of intervention in between, TA is useful. The more manipulated the market, the more controlled the market, the less TA is useful. So for example, there's absolutely no TA that can help you get your, okay, let me put it this way. If you get married and you're about to buy a diamond ring for your future fiance, there is no TA that can help you time the price of that diamond because there is no free market on diamond prices. So that's where TA fails. But as long as there is a free market between buyers and sellers, I believe TA is useful. Now, it may not be useful for you, but I believe that TA is useful. Remember, candlesticks were originally discovered by tracking the price of rice in Japan. So, I mean, it's always useful as long as there's a free market.
Yep, great answer there. It personally did a lot of damage to my analysis. By moving price that quickly, it shredded the order books. Liquidity was very thin. On BitMEX, where a $10 aggregation would normally be stacked with between $4 and $6 million dollars in contracts, it's now stacked with hundreds of thousands, maybe 2 million is high now. So we get much more volatile swings, and it basically makes my TA a little bit more of a gamble. And I'm playing with far less capital and now not even using much leverage. Just playing to keep my skills sharp. That's the only thing, because Bitcoin will suffer more volatile times, and it's definitely good experience. In fact, that's when I started to learn to trade. So I think TA has its uses. Mine is blown out of the water. So I'm thinking about, looking at those other things, and paying attention to candlestick patterns and basic formations, triangles in particular, things that a lot of people would resort to in the event that they feel like they can't trust something that's more complex.
Yeah, and we can sorry, you want to go on, Joe?
No, that's it.
I was gonna say, look, we can go to fake Zoom, right? Like, here's another example. Like, the more illiquid the stock, the less TA is relevant.
Yeah.
Was there any usefulness to TA on fake Zoom when it was trading at, between half a penny and a penny? And the answer is no, it was very illiquid. But now that this insanity is liquid, and I turned on the moving averages. I thought I was going to turn on volume.
What do you mean fake Zoom? This is Zoom?
No, this is fake Zoom.
What's fake Zoom?
So fake Zoom is the ticker ZOOM.
Okay.
And the stock has been around for like 10 years. And the stock used to be worth some money back in the early .com days, or back in 2000. Yeah. So, but then the stock was less than a penny for 5 years, and it was a dead company until Zoom went public with the ticker ZM, not ZOOM. And pre-Zoom IPO, people confused the Zoom technologies with Zoom, the software we're using now.
Unbelievable.
And this stock that was trading at less than a penny for 5 years, from about a few months before the Zoom IPO, started to rise, and it hit $60 yesterday.
That's unbelievable. I can't believe that's hilarious. It's crazy. It's awesome. It's terrible, but unbelievable.
Right. So from sub penny, where it's been for 5 years, to $60 because people are confusing it with Zoom, the video conferencing software.
What a lucky sell. What a lucky opportunity. You don't get those. You don't get those.
And I mentioned this like the day before the IPO, and I didn't think people would continue to be this stupid. So where would I rather do my TA? Would I rather do it on fake Zoom, or would I rather do it on real Zoom? I would rather do my TA on real Zoom because I can't trade this nonsense, right? So does TA work on this stock that is now trading at $20? The answer is probably not, because this is not a very liquid, rational asset. But I love to do, TA on ZM, even though ZM is probably a little irrational as well, because everyone's still only stock that's actually rising like crazy. But I would rather do my TA on this than the other one. And, there it is, the low right on the 9 in December, and up we go. So that's where I'd rather do my TA, on the most liquid assets possible.
Cool. So, Tone, if we're staying under 6,400, would you still short it since it's a bear market?
I'm sorry, say again the question?
If we're staying under 6,400, would you still short it since it's a bear market?
You mean Bitcoin?
Yeah, Bitcoin.
I probably, but with very low leverage and very carefully. So if I was actively trading, I probably would have taken the short at 6,100, I would probably be in a short position, but it would be very low leverage, and I would be tightening my stops because it's very difficult to short Bitcoin. It's very dangerous to short Bitcoin. But remember, we just went up quite a bit. We went from 38 up to 70. We went up 100% in a month, less than a month. In the same month, we went up 100%. It's gonna pull back, and I didn't know where it was gonna top, but I'm more confident in this particular situation. Now, Bitcoin still has a chance not to devastate people. It needs to stay above 5,500. If Bitcoin breaks this breakout level, this 54 level, where I was very adamant about being long, if Bitcoin breaks this level to the downside, the lows are in jeopardy. And if we break this secondary low for the year, this low goes into jeopardy. So this is almost like your last line of support right here at 55. It's got to hold this setup trend line, this 52 to 55 area. It really has to hold it. And the weekly chart is telling you pretty much that it can't. If the weekly chart ends up going back below the 200-week moving average, then the likely probability is that $2,800 area. And that's going to wreck a lot more people. So this particular move down to 3,800 happened to wreck, unfortunately, some of the more leveraged operations. But if we fall down to 2,800 and we don't immediately bounce, that's going to start to wreck some of the hodler operations like, Novogratz and Draper.
Yeah, this thing wrecked everyone, just so you know. I mean, a 50% move even took out two Xers. This market move was completely, I think over $1 billion were liquidated over that 2-day period, maybe closer to 1.5 billion.
It wrecked DAI.
It wrecked me. My trading stack got wrecked. I was completely annihilated. And you know what? This is my experience, and this is why I think it's so important to do these three things: dollar cost average, HODL, or maybe in order of importance, HODL, DCA, and trade. Because I got wrecked so bad that I could buy the amount of Bitcoin that I got wrecked for far cheaper. So this was like a very bittersweet moment. I really think that this market it happened to present me with a terrible loss and a fortunate opportunity. And I hope other people are seeing that same opportunity.
Risk management of your positions is absolute key. I mean, again, I don't want to talk about adaptive, but
we could talk about me. I was on fire, Tone. You saw my trades. I was on a sick roll. I was killing it, right? I even exited at 10,025. Went long a couple points when I thought I was right, and all it takes is being wrong, and even with the 2x at 7,600, you were liquidated. We went from 76 down to, on BitMEX, 36 before they flipped the circuit breaker, because the liquidation bot was just chasing the book down, a very illiquid book with $10 million orders. So it was rushing the price down. They had to turn it off for a bit, and then you saw that immediate 38% pump. I caught all that live, by the way, everything as it was happening. So,
yeah, no, I'm sorry about that, Joe. It's really, really unfortunate.
No, it's okay, man. This is why you live to fight another day, because ugly old goat money management, your money management, it taught me to trade differently. It taught me
we're gonna start like the first day of the upcoming Bali event in November. Is all gonna be about money management, because I think that after this year is over, people will learn how important money management is because of the traditional markets as well. Everything is just insane. And good money management is so freaking important. And I can't believe Tyler is not with us to talk about the current state of both Bitcoin and everything, like just the world economy.
Yeah. Yeah, it's sad he's not with us. But this is definitely a case where money management saves the day. I got wrecked, but I had a hodl and I have DCA cash, and I was presented with an opportunity to buy Bitcoin at a 50% discount plus from the low to high, 10.5 to 3.6. I had an opportunity 3.8, whatever, to buy Bitcoin, right? So it's a bittersweet moment, and that's why it's important to, manage your money. Have your different categories. You can't be all trade. You can be all hodl. It's dangerous. You can be all DCA and hodl. But being all trade, it will wipe you clean. It will fucking clean you out every once in a while. Sorry about the language, but man, this is a wild market. We saw a pump from 7.3 to 10.5 in October. We've now seen a dump from the mid sevens to low of 3.6, 3.8. It's money management is absolutely crucial. I'm so happy to have learned that from ugly old goat in Bali.
Joe, see if there's any other good questions. I'm gonna comment. Look, guys, I haven't read Martin Armstrong in years because I've just been too busy doing what I'm doing in Bitcoin, so I can't comment on anything Martin Armstrong's done in a while, unfortunately. That was the blog that I've read religiously for 3 or 5 years. I don't remember how long. I've attended some of his workshops. I didn't like his trading method, but I learned so much about history of economics and money. I learned a lot, but I can't comment on his, cycles because I haven't read him in years. All right, Joe, any other questions?
Let's see here. If the price plummets too much, do you think Bitcoin viability could be permanently threatened? At what point so institutional buyers run out?
I think, oh, wow, look at that. SPX volatility topped on a 9. So I saw the VXX question. VXX is just a tradable version of VIX. So VXX is the ETF. I think VXX is unless VXX is the volatility of the NASDAQ. Oh, it's the short ETF on the VIX. Okay. I mean, it's all about the VIX. It's all about VIX. That's the leader in this category. And that's not a good looking candle. It is a 9 top. Man, can VIX really go over 100? Has it ever gone over 100? It did. No, it didn't. It came close to 100 in 08. Can we really top the 08 volatility? I think it's possible. Let me look at the weekly VIX. Oh, so you have a 9 on a weekly and a daily. It's possible that the market has peaked in volatility because I think the more likely scenario from this point on is I don't think the U.S. government is going to shut down the stock market tonight. But if things start to go bad Monday, I can see the stock market not opening Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, but I do believe it will open on Friday because options.
Yeah, and there was also a kind of a moral question alongside that. If you shut down the market and you prevent people from withdrawing even their capital by choice at a lower value to buy survival necessities, is that something that the government typically does, or is that something that you think the government should do? I don't know. What are your thoughts on all that?
That's a very good question. So if it's a retirement account, then it doesn't really matter because you're not supposed to withdraw that anyway, right? So now we're talking about an active account. If the government shuts down the stock market and you have a bunch of positions, but you want to withdraw that money and take out supplies. So I don't know what they would do because I don't think they know how long they would keep the markets closed. What I think they could and should do is allow these brokerage institutions, a lot of them have lending licenses. If not, they're connected to the banks. So basically, people can take out loans that are, what do you call them, backed by their positions. Kind of like what Make or Die did with the Ethereum, only this would be normal and regulated and centralized, right? But it's the same concept, right? You use your Apple stock as collateral to borrow money to buy goods, and then as long as Apple stock, when the markets reopen and the institution will act accordingly with its risk measures, and if they have to sell your Apple stock to meet those loan demands, they will.
Yep. Sounds good. This is a good question. Okay. How about a place to park retirement fund? Is cash really a good place to be if the Fed is watering down our purchasing power $1 trillion a day? Thank you for the advice.
Cash is a great place to be because that $1 trillion a day has so much demand that like everybody's going to go into cash. I mean, like the answer to your question is very, very easy. All you have to do is pull up the chart of DXY. Come on. And if the DXY is rising, that means there is demand for US dollars. And if DXY is falling, that means people are scared of US dollars. Now, what does this chart look like to you? Wow. For those of you that read Martin Armstrong, this is what he refers to as a slingshot. This is where you start to crash and then immediately reverse to the upside. This is how people get wrecked. This is where you think the US is going into the shitter, and then you realize that everyone else is in the shitter and US is the one bailing out the world, okay? This is telling you that there is enormous demand for US dollars. Now, it is coming up on a daily 9, so momentum is running out, but it's on a weekly 1. So who the hell knows, okay? And this chart is telling me, unless I see a crash in the US dollar tomorrow, be below 100, it doesn't matter how much the government prints. What this is telling me, this chart of the US dollar against foreign currencies.
Do you want to share the screen on that chart?
Oh, my bad. Shit, I'm not sharing screen. My bad. There you guys go. Sorry about that. What was I looking at before? I was looking at the VIX before. Damn, I didn't share a screen on the VIX either. My bad.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Shit. Okay. Yeah, sorry about that, guys. So this chart is telling me that the U.S. government is not printing enough money. I mean, like, look, it's just a chart. Look, like, I don't want the U.S. government to print any money, right? Like, if the U.S. government didn't print any money, this thing right here would probably be at a new all-time high. I think the all-time high is like 120 or 140, 125, right? So if the US government is not announcing printing of trillions of dollars, this could have been at 150 by now, right? But it's still rising. It is almost, or it just tied a 15-year high. So how in the world is a US dollar not a safe haven when the value of the US dollar versus any other money is at an all-time high? Not all-time high, sorry, 15-year high. So this chart is telling me the US government is not printing enough money, relatively speaking, to the rest of the world, relatively speaking, based on demand for that money. That's what it says. So yes, cash is a great place to be right now.
Cool. So how many more questions did you want to answer? Another like 5, 10, 15 minutes kind of thing?
Yeah, let's go until 3:30. I don't want to keep this too long. I'll try to answer them quicker.
All right. Do you think the stock? Oh, go ahead.
I'll go back to the VIX, guys, because I wasn't screen sharing. Hold on. So the VIX on a weekly is on a, sorry, that's a monthly. The VIX on a weekly is on a 9, and the VIX hit a 9 on a daily. So it is possible that the volatility of the market has topped. And if the market starts to crash on Monday, I think it might get shut down for the rest of the week. We'll see what happens.
So do you think stocks are crashing tomorrow? New York has hard times to go through.
My opinion on this doesn't really matter because we're gonna find out at 9 in the morning, right? You can't trade the markets right now. And like I said earlier in this podcast, what the market does between 6 p.m. on a Sunday and what it does at 11 a.m. on a Monday could be night and day. So do I think the market is going to crash on Monday? I do, but this opinion is totally irrelevant. I could be 100% wrong, and it doesn't matter. It's just like, it's generally irrelevant, my opinion on this. What's more relevant is my opinion that if the market, it's not about what I think, it's about what to do if X happens and what to do if Y happens. My opinion that you should care about, or that I care about, is that if the markets start to crash big time on Monday, they will close the markets and they may not reopen until Friday. It's possible they may not reopen until, sometime in April. Like, I don't know. But I am almost debating not doing that podcast tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. because I am going to trade based on, if I see the markets crashing on Monday morning and the markets are open, I want to be fully prepared to enter positions with the anticipation that markets might be closed completely for several days up to a month or two. Now, I am not going to share that strategy of how I plan to enter the market with that thought in mind, because this is my only competitive advantage to try and make some money while I'm not making any money sitting at home. We'll see. I could fail completely and I could blow up my retirement fund, because this is what I'm going to do is going to be borderline. It's not going to be reckless, but it's going to be different. That's the important part. Not whether they will or won't be crashing on Monday. It's what will you do if they crash, and what will you do if by some miracle they rise on Monday, though I'm not sure what will cause them to rise.
Cool. Do you see us going below 51% decrease financial crisis level in S&P? We're more than halfway in a fraction of time.
Yes, because and we you know what? I'm actually going to go to my Telegram group chat. And no, you can't get into it. It has too many people already, and the only people that are in it have access to the indicator. So you'll at least will have to pay for that. I keep mentioning it, how it will be free one day, but I have no idea when or if that's actually going to happen. Though I should release the latest version of it now that I'm hunkered down. Let me find the chart, because I don't want to draw it myself, because I told somebody to, well, I didn't tell somebody, I suggested something. So here was a chart that was posted in my channel, and it's an interesting chart. Oh, I'm sorry, that wasn't the original chart, my bad. Here is the original chart. Let me see. Man, I really thought this would be easier to spot. All right, let's try this a different way. Oh wow, do the arrows don't work? Why isn't it taking me to the prior? Oh, that sucks. Anyway, so somebody drew this chart, but they didn't draw it like that. They drew connecting this point to this point and having the drop on Friday bounce off this line. I suggested connecting the two peaks and try to see if you can connect the bottom of 2016 giving this more downside, but not too much more downside.
Yo, Tone, you can annotate on something like this. You click on this and like so.
I know, I'm being lazy. It's okay.
Okay.
And then I suggested, hey, why don't you take a look at the Dow Jones? And when you look at the Dow Jones, you get, sorry, can't see that. When you look at the Dow Jones, you get one of these. And this is a chart I kind of like. This gives it more downside, but not a lot more downside. So this is a chart I actually kind of like, and I think it's a reasonable bottom. And that gets us somewhat close to a 50% drop. Do I think that is it possible to go all the way back to the prior double top? Of course. And if we go back to the prior double top, that is a 50, that's more than a 50% correction. That is going from 3,300 down to 1,500. So that takes you down about 55 to 60%. Maybe a little bit more. But here's the best part. Here's the best part. This happened so quickly, and it happened because of an external event that was basically not related to government stupidity or necessarily human stupidity. Well, somewhat, right? It wasn't like the 1929 crash where stocks were rising irrationally. I always felt that this stock market was rising rationally, relatively speaking, because look, here's an irrational rise in the stock market. This was not that irrational on a log scale like this. We had a more irrational market during the dot-com days. And when the coronavirus is finally over, the innovation, like the amount of inefficient companies that will collapse from this, right? If you're a brick and mortar, you're probably done, but the robotics revolution is coming. Self-driverless cars are gonna come. More elimination of humans in the workforce is coming. 3D printers are gonna finally make a wave. Like so much will show up that I'm still expecting the stock market to go to new all-time highs sooner than most expect. So I'm not sure where I was going with this. How did I get to this?
Well, we were talking about the 51% decrease.
Oh yeah. Can I see that? Yes, but I see it in very, very swift order. I don't see a grind. Like this was like an 80% correction, right? And then look how long it took us to get to new all-time high. So from during 1929, it took us, how high was this? About 350, 500, great. 1955, it took us almost 30 years, it took us 25 years to get to a new all-time high. I'm not expecting that here, okay? Like look at the last 50% correction. We were at a new all-time high by 2013, by 2015, I think, like 2014, 2015, right? We were at a new all-time high. So that took us like 7 years. So I think it's gonna be even less. I think it's gonna be even less. I think that when this is over, I think that it'll only take 3 years at most to get back to a new all-time high. I think it's gonna rebound so ridiculously quick. It'll be like 3 or 4 years to get to a new all-time high, kind of like what happened after 1987 crash. Like here's 1987, 23% in a single day, and that was 1987. By 1929, we were at new all-time high. Only took 2 years to recover from like a 30% correction in total. Took 2 years. Even if we get a 50% correction, I think within 3 years, we'll be back to new all-time high. It's not going to be like the Great Depression. At least I don't see it. All right. I think wow. I think we're like, okay. Any other good questions?
Just some stuff. Joe Tone, if either of you are aware of Brett Johnson's Santiago Capital Dollar milkshake theory, what are your thoughts on it? Do you know of it?
I don't know a word of that, so no.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, there aren't really any compelling questions. I think we've covered most of the stuff. There are questions, but this could go on forever.
There's requests for me to just keep streaming forever.
I mean, people have questions, man. They're definitely interested in all this.
We still have 100 viewers in the Zoom, so.
Yeah.
No, I haven't even eaten today yet, and it's not like I'm rationing my food. I actually have a lot of food in the fridge that I need to eat a lot. So I'm gonna be tweeting out like my nutrition. I mean, I don't know. I can't really call them tips. I'm not a licensed nutritionist or anything like that. But I'm just gonna tweet out what I'm doing and how I'm eating, just so you guys know. I'm still eating once a day, though I may eat twice tomorrow because I have a lot of food that I didn't want to freeze, so I need to eat it. And I'm gonna just fill up on a bunch of food in the next 2 days, and I'm gonna take like a 2 or 3 day fast, and then I'm gonna start going into my freezer. So keep an eye on my Twitter. I'll definitely be posting some of my, how I'm food surviving through this self-quarantine.
Yeah. Also, I would say keep out for these Zoom sessions, because if YouTube is down, then this is probably going to be where the party is. So everyone, be vigilant for these notifications.
Yeah, and guys, eventually I'm gonna figure out like another way to monetize, because I can't this doesn't I don't know if I'm gonna want to do this forever, because I am thinking about going back to trading, so I gotta find a happy medium here. If I'm gonna keep doing this, I can't be running a net negative every month, with all the expenses. So we have to figure out something. But the financial summit, still planning to go ahead in November. Joe, you'll be there. Understanding Bitcoin is coming in October. So at the moment it is, but hopefully we get to keep it going. And of course, if you guys want to support, if I'm making enough money from affiliate codes to maintain a positive cash flow in my operation, then these can keep going. Otherwise, we'll see what happens. Like, I don't know what the future holds. Now that I'm going to spend the rest of the day preparing for the trading day tomorrow, and still got some phone calls to do with that. So yeah, so if you guys want to support, please check out the affiliate page. I've been pimping out the Embly card. That's the one I've been pimping the most. Of course, exchanges. Joe gave you the heads up on Deribit. There's Bybit. I don't affiliate with BitMEX. So check these guys out. All right. I think that's it. I think we're going to call it a day. Thanks for joining me, Joe.
Yep.
And let me go back to my other background. All right. We're in day 2 of a 2-week minimum quarantine. All right, guys. Talk to you all on the next one.